On? Okay, all right, cool. Welcome to the Fletch Zone. I am Sammy Long. Ben Fletcher is still somewhere to be found. He, we texted him. He said he's feeling better. Again, the text line had a lot of theories as to where Ben Fletcher is. Was he bottle sick? Did he have too much of a weekend? Is he still sad about his San Francisco 49ers? Our friend SoCal Jayhawk actually called him the Darren Peterson of broadcast radio. Please, I would love to hear those texts. 70470. Start your message with team. All right. We have an absolutely packed show today. I got Colin Yee, my guy from AM 570, who I do a show with on the weekends, talking boxing, jumping on at 12:15. Mayweather Pacquiao, number 2 at the Sphere, 49 and 47 years old. I mean, we're going to get into all that. Is it a real fight? And break it all down for you so you have something to talk about at the barbecue this weekend. We got Coach Quintera coming on at 12:30, talking Padres. What has he seen through the first week and a half of game action for the Padres, plus going forward? What has he seen from everyone else? We're going to get into all that. We got Steve Hartman coming on at 1:15 for usually his Friday appointment, coming in at 1:15. Going to talk some Raiders. Are they going to potentially be taking Fernando Mendoza at the number 1 overall pick? We got Chino Iglesias from Channel 93.3 coming on from 1 to 2 today, as well as Tyler Heaps, who just signed a contract extension with STFC, jumping on at 1:30. I want to start off today, though, because we've talked a lot of Padres, talked a lot of Aztecs. We're going to get to all that later this week, or later on in the show. The NFL Combine starts tomorrow, and we're going through the weekend where they got quarterbacks throwing this weekend, receivers, a lot going on here with the NFL. And Mel Kiper just released a mock draft, and a lot has been made about, is Fernando Mendoza a number 1 overall pick? Is he that guy? Because it feels like after he won the national championship, he won the Heisman, and to his credit, had an unbelievable run. I mean, you take a guy who went from Indiana, one of the worst, literally one of the losingest football programs we have seen in college football, and take them to go win a national championship over some blue bloods in Oregon and Miami. He has widely been expected to be the number 1 overall pick. And Spytek, the GM for the Raiders today, kind of was going back and forth talking about how we're looking for a quarterback that's mature, can run an offense, can lead a team, basically saying Fernando Mendoza without saying Fernando Mendoza. He also clarified today that Max Crosby, wide expected to possibly be traded. Could the Raiders kind of go with the youth movement? He's expected to be back. But it got me thinking this morning, because Mendoza, there's been so much love about him. And is it because he's that great of a quarterback? Or is it that there's not a lot of other great quarterbacks in this draft? Because as we looked at for next season, you have Dante Moore, was widely expected to be the number 2 overall pick this year out of Oregon. He had that clunker against Indiana in the college ball playoff where he ended up throwing an interception on the first play. That was kind of a fun matchup going into it, because if Dante Moore had outplayed Fernando Mendoza, would we be sitting here having a conversation about him being the number 1 overall pick? He's going back to school. Jaden Mayava from USC, going back to school. He didn't come out. Arch Manning, a lot of people thought heading into last year was going to be the number 1 overall pick with the Manning bloodline. Really struggled early and kind of came on late, is going back to school. You got Lenoris Sellers, who is expected to be a top pick from South Carolina, going back to school. So that leaves us with Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza is, I think, elite. He deserves all the love he's getting, but there's kind of been this aura of, if you're the Raiders, why are you can't consider not taking him. You can't consider even trading the pick. And the number 2 quarterback in the class is Ty Simpson from Alabama. And his profile has kind of been kind of rose because there's no one else. So you look at, there's more than one quarterback needy team. I mean, there's in the top 10, in the top 30, Mendoza's likely going 1 to the Raiders. Where does that leave everyone else? And I heard Sam Darnold on a few minutes ago with Colin Cowherd, and Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, these were guys that people looked at and were busts. They were done. They were drafted to their respective teams. Sam Darnold was considered a bust when he went to the Jets. Carolina, he went 3-0 with Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey got hurt. They didn't have success the rest of the season. He bounces around San Francisco, Minnesota. Even he wins all these games with Minnesota, and he loses the final 2 games of the season to Detroit and to the Rams. and people say he sucks. And then all of a sudden, what does this guy do a year later? He goes and wins a Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield, Cleveland Browns savior to start his career with Cleveland. That kind of goes away. They end up trading him. His career gets salvaged by that. Remember, we all remember that Thursday night game with the Rams where he had threw 2 late touchdowns on. He had just gotten there 2 days before. I forgot what team they beat, 17-16. He ends up going to Tampa and having a nice career. Geno Smith, to a lesser extent, was awful. People thought this guy was done. This was a complete, utter miss in the NFL draft. And Pete Carroll in that Seattle organization makes him look good. So I'm getting this, tying it back to Fernando Mendoza, in that we kind of have some guys that fit that billing this season. You have Kyler Murray, who we'll get to him in a second. Tua Tagovailoa. People have written this guy off. And do I think that Tua Tagovailoa is a franchise quarterback? No. And that could be due to a lot of things. It could be due to health. It could be due to that he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And maybe he hasn't been able to perform in the biggest games. He certainly has not played well in cold weather games. But let's give Tua a little credit in the sense of Miami was awful for years. I mean, unwatchable since the Marino days. And Tua he had that offense, people down in Miami excited. Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, kind of getting excited about football down there. And then he gets hurt, and Mike McDaniel's out of town, and he's now expected to be traded in the offseason. Now let's get to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's a guy who, do we all remember 3-4 years ago, the Cardinals were the number 1 seed heading into the NFC? I know they got blown out by the Rams in the playoff game, but Kyler Murray with DeAndre Hopkins was supposed to be the next guy that we were looking to in the NFL, a new young superstar, kind of not up there with your Mahomes, Allens, anyone's like that. But people thought Kyler Murray, there was a chance he was going to dominate the NFC before you had, obviously now with Caleb Williams and Sam Darnold, but then you had Jalen Hurts burst on the scene. Matthew Stafford had been there for a while, obviously, but even a guy like Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray was supposed to be that guy, and then things didn't really work out. He is expected to be traded in the offseason. So if you're a team like the Jets, who's currently picking at number 2, you're not going to take Ty Simpson that high. If you're a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, who hired Mike McCarthy, are they bringing Aaron Rodgers back? Are they going to get someone else? I feel like there is a misconception that Fletch and I argued about this a lot last year when it came to Shedeur Sanders. I remember saying, get Shedeur Sanders, start him right away. Let him see what you have in him, because starting Joe Flacco off the jump and then Dylan Gabriel to then play Shedeur Sanders for, what are they playing, about 6 weeks, to not know what you have in a guy that you did take. He was a 5th-round pick, but had first-round value. To not know what to wait on him. Now the Browns are going into a scenario where this year, there was a report this morning that they're potentially looking at a quarterback. So you're going to bring a guy in to go along with Shedeur, and then you're going to have more of another quarterback battle. And then, again, you're not going to be able to truly evaluate what Shedeur Sanders brings to the table, and you're not going to be able to truly evaluate who someone else brings to the table. So you go like Kyler and Tua, do these cast-offs, do these guys who were kind of left for dead become more interesting because of your Geno Smiths, because of your Sam Darnolds, because of your Baker Mayfields? 20 years ago, this didn't happen. Maybe it's just all of us, I think we can speak for everyone. We like things to happen fast. And when you see other quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes sat for a year, so it was a little bit of a skewed thing, but he came in the league, was unbelievable, won MVP. Justin Herbert, if we all remember, Tyrod Taylor got the shot by the doctor. He ends up coming in in week 2 against the Chiefs, lights it up, was fantastic for his rookie year. Lamar Jackson, a guy who said scouts and coaches said should play wide receiver or running back because he couldn't cut it, even though he won as a Heisman winner at Louisville in the NFL. Comes in, has immediate success. So it's changed the way we look at rookie quarterbacks, because if you're not Lamar, if you're not Mahomes, if you're not Herbert, you're out. Quarterbacks 20 years ago used to have 2 to 3 years of leeway to gain their kind of momentum and feel comfortable. It was always year 1, you could suck. Year 2, you wanted to see a little bit of growth. And then year 3, you better make the playoffs. We were talking about this year with Caleb Williams. I mean, Caleb Williams didn't have a great rookie season. Part of that was on him. Part of that was on a dreadful offensive line that was one of the worst of all time, and a non-offensive minded head coach in Matt Eberflus. And you give him a little bit of time. And then, even, do we remember the first month of the season, Caleb Williams, JJ McCarthy on the first game, the first Monday Night Football game, comes back on a late touchdown drive and beats Caleb Williams, and everyone goes, see, Caleb Williams can't play quarterback. He's not getting it done. We have to be patient with our rookie quarterbacks. And now all of a sudden, Caleb Williams is one of the favorites to win MVP next year. So when you're evaluating a quarterback from teams that need a quarterback, would it be better to just bottom out? Would it be better to not try to go do the Steelers motto, where you go have a winning record every year, but you're not in a position to where you feel like you can draft an impact player at the top of the draft with all those names I mentioned, Sellers, Maava, Moore, Manning, all these guys coming out next year. If you are a quarterback needy team, take the Raiders out of it because you feel like Mendoza fits that mold of being a potential superstar quarterback. If you're the Steelers, do you want to take Ty Simpson? If you're the Jets, do you want to take Ty Simpson? Do you want to? Malik Willis is widely expected to be one of the most sought after free agents in free agency because of how he played when he replaced Jordan Love down the stretch there for the Green Bay Packers. Malik Willis played well, former first round pick, second round pick out of Liberty, was a guy who had a lot of tools, and you wonder what he could be. But if I'm one of these teams, again, we go back to the tanking in the NBA. Why do teams in the NBA tank? They want to make sure they get Darren Peterson or Cam Boozer or DeBonsta. And yes, is it always the prettiest as a fan of a team? And I'd love to hear from you guys. 70470, start your message with team. If you're a fan of the Jets, if you're a fan of a team that you think you need a new quarterback, do you want to see them bottom out next year? It's not fun to watch your team bottom out, but it might be the best thing in the long term versus keep recycling old quarterbacks and Aaron Rodgers or trying to take flyers on the draft with a Ty Simpson or a Cade Klubnik out of Clemson or a Drew Aller out of Penn State. Guys you know have a really slim shot of becoming superstars in this league just because you need something to sell to your fan base. I'm in the business of if you think Kyler can become a superstar with a new team getting out of Arizona, I think Kyler Murray is a guy you could look at and target if you're a quarterback needy team in the NFL. But outside of Fernando Mendoza this year, I am sitting, I'm waiting, I'm stocking talent. And quickly before we get to the next segment, I got to give the Cleveland Browns actually a little bit of love from last year. What did they do? They could have gone with the sexy pick and Travis Hunter. They could have gone with the guy that gets you on Sunday Night Football. But what did they do? They take Mason Graham, they trade, get a first round pick this year, and weren't just rushing the quarterback, weren't just rushing to sell tickets. They're setting themselves up for the future, for next year, for a way to get a franchise quarterback. Because as we all know in the NFL, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, you're kind of SOL. All right, coming up next, my guy Colin Yee, AM 570, going to be joining the show. Pacquiao Mayweather 2, live from the Sphere. Can't believe it's happening. 49 and 47-year-old are going to get it going in September. We're going to get into a little boxing, a little UFC. That's all coming up next on San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Wellness Unmasked with Dr. Nicole Sapphire.
I was trying to get you to say something. Beautiful.
Medical headlines, they're everywhere. Join me on Wellness Unmasked for a deeper look, plus the latest from the MAHA movement. Listen to Wellness Unmasked with Dr. Nicole Sapphire on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm heading to lunch.
You do a lot for others. That's why you value your lunch break. Kaiser Permanente wishes you a healthy and restorative lunch break. Eat well and get some fresh air. With Kaiser Permanente, receive care for all that is you, mind, body, and spirit. And Kaiser Permanente's online tools and connected personal care teams mean communication and appointments are a breeze. Learn more at kaiserpermanente.org. Kaiser Permanente, for all that is San Diego, for all that is you. And appointments are a breeze. Learn more at Kaiser Permanente.
this is the problem with boxing right now is we're making Floyd Pacquiao 2 Floyd Tyson that they'll be fighting later on. Pacquiao getting back in there. All these old fighters fighting when really we should be focused on the big fights. A fight that was announced yesterday, the biggest fight in Japanese history. Naoya Inoue and Junto Nakatani. We should be focused on that. We should be focused on Navarrete fighting coming up. So there's a lot of good fights that are being made, being overshadowed by these huge, legendary names that have no business getting back to the ring.
Yeah, so talking on that point, like it is frustrating as Con, I know you're a massive boxing fan as well as me too. It's frustrating when you had a great fight between a one-sided fight between Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios. There's a lot over the past weekend. You have a lot of really fun fights upcoming. To your point, Nakatani and Inoue. If you're not a diehard fan, Inoue is one of the most electric fighters in the sport, and he's fighting Nakatani, a guy who could really get after him. Like, is it frustrating that they're kind of overpowering that a guy in Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, who, although legends and although great fighters and great legacies, it's like they're still getting headlines. Jake Paul's getting headlines over fights that really matter.
It is. And Ryan Garcia, he should be getting his flowers right now. Right? I mean, the boxing world is talking about Mayweather Pacquiao too, because it's the biggest story in boxing. But Ryan Garcia, for what he did against Mario Barrios in those 12 rounds, complete domination, the knockout in the first. I know he said he hurt his right hand, and so that's kind of why he didn't go for the knockout. But I think he could have gotten it. Other than that, a complete shutout. And to me, the best performance of Ryan Garcia's boxing career. And so that's what we should be talking about. And then when we talk about Garcia, we have to talk about all the fights that could be made between the 140 and 147 pound division. I know he called out Shakur Stevenson after the fight, but how about Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia too? I'd love to see that fight. I'd love to see Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia mix it up. These that should be talked about because not only is Ryan Garcia popular along with Shakur Stevenson, but you still have that casual fighter or casual fan. You can bring the casual fan with these fighters. But Mayweather Pacquiao, not a real fight. It's going to be. I know it's scheduled as an actual professional bout, but it's going to be an exhibition match.
100%. So focusing on Ryan Garcia actually spends a lot of time in San Diego. Was at an SDFC game. They showed him. Crowd went nuts. Where do you see Ryan Garcia? Because we talked about this a little bit on our show last week. Ryan Garcia has had such a wild career because he fought Tank. He gave the boxing fans, fight fans, a fight that they wanted to see when none of that was happening. We weren't seeing two guys in their primes fighting each other at the same time. And then he loses that fight. He beats Devin Haney, but comes in over the weight limit, gets popped for PEDs, doesn't look great against Rolly Romero, and then has a great performance against Barrios over the weekend. You mentioned he called out Shakur Stevenson. Teofimo Lopez coming off a loss to Shakur Stevenson. Tank's trainer just said that he thinks he's coming back. Who would you like to see Ryan Garcia fight, and who do you think reasonably he could beat in and around his weight class?
The first fight I'd love to see is against Devin Haney. I want to see Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia too, because up to that point, that was Ryan Garcia's biggest win. Of course, he gets popped for steroids. Test him, body test him, bring that all in, make sure it's clean. But I need to see that fight again because the first fight was so compelling, it was so exciting. It was a very close decision won by Ryan Garcia, and there's been a lot of talking back and forth between the two. Right now, the welterweight division, Devin Haney, he's on top. He took down the previous big dog in Brian Norman with, in my opinion, his best performance of his young career, Devin Haney. And so put these two in the ring together. Shakur Stevenson still, to me, outclasses Ryan Garcia. No, I could be wrong. We couldn't see that fight down the line, and that could be a really close contest. But at this point of his career, I still see Shakur Stevenson being so much better, levels above both Devin Haney and Brian Garcia, that wouldn't be as interesting to me, as compelling to me as the Garcia Devin Haney. Devin Haney and Garcia, because of how close it was. I know all the steroids. I know that was something that tainted that fight, but it's still a great fight, and I'd love to see it again.
Completely agree. I think Shakur is definitely levels above a lot of guys. 760 texting in, ask about Conor Benn leaving Matchroom for Zuffa. Sean O'Malley, the UFC fighter, actually had some choice words for this. What is your reaction to Conor Benn? For those who don't know, going to Zuffa Boxing, which is now run by Dana White, they offered him $15 million reportedly for just one fight. What is your reaction to that?
Dana White playing chess, not checkers. Eddie Hearn came in and he was guns a blazing. You know, he was calling out Dana White saying, "You're not ready. Turkey on the secrets are poppy." He was
Yeah.
calling out Dana White. He was saying that you're not experienced enough to hang in this boxing world. We're established. We have our stable fighters. You're not like us. Well, he Dana White, Godfather style, moved into silence and poached one of Eddie Hearn's biggest prize fighters in Conor Benn, and it hit Eddie Hearn right where it hurt, taking away Conor Benn for one fight for, again, you reported the $15 million. But if it goes well, maybe he signs a long-term deal with Zuffa. And all of a sudden, who comes next? Conor Benn was called out by Shakur Stevenson. It's not out of the realm of possibility, if Zuffa has the funds, that they bring over Shakur for a one-deal fight. Zuffa Boxing, it starts to have legs. I love the fact, Sammy, that it's on Paramount Plus, right? Like, you can just have one
Yeah.
every other week. And we don't have to scramble to look, to buy the pay-per-view from the Zone when we already have the Zone subscription.
100%. It's going to change the way we look at boxing when it's if you have a streaming service, you're able to watch all the fights instead of having to build up a fighter. I think Dana White certainly came in with some money and going to be interesting to see him in the boxing space. Again, you can hear Colin and I every Saturday, 9 to 10 a.m. on Not Quite Ringside on AM 570 LA Sports. We also podcast the show as well. Colin, you're the best, man. Thanks for joining me, dude.
Thank you, Sam. Have a good rest of your day.
Yep, you too. All right, coming up next, we have one of the legends, one of the premier voices in San Diego who joins this show a lot. The one, the only, Coach John Quintera, coming up here on the Fletch Zone. Sammy Long and Ben Fletcher sick, coming up on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. Welcome back in to the Fletch Zone. Sammy Long and Ben Fletcher out sick today. Joining us right now, though, we have one of he knows this, one of the GOATs. When I think of San Diego, when I think of Voices of San Diego, I think of this man, the one, the only, Coach John Quintera. Coach, how you doing today, dude? See, there's a difference. Like, Coach, some people are calling Ben the Darren Peterson of radio from Kansas. I know, Coach, you would never miss a day. No matter if you were sick, if you had an injury, you would be here day in, day out. I guess it's just people are built different, you know?
California. I very rarely miss a day, but if I did miss a day, I was pretty ill where I couldn't get out of bed. But there were a lot of times that you drive down there, and the tough part really is once you get on the air, you're okay. You get that adrenaline going. And the tough part for me was always going about the preparation because I always spent a lot of time in preparation, and I just didn't like to go in there with two or three stories. I wanted to lay it all out on the line. So once you get on the air, and then once you got off the air, you go home and die for a few more.
See, Coach, we believe you. Ben Fletcher, I don't know. Let the text line be a judge of that. But look at the Padres, Coach. I know obviously you're more tapped into Padre baseball than just about anyone. Over the first kind of week of games here, is there a certain player that you think, although I know a lot of we're going down the depth chart a little bit, is there a certain player that has a shot to maybe crack this lineup or a guy that we're not talking about enough that you've liked so far?
Well, I don't know about cracking the lineup. I think it's going to be very hard, with the sign Miguel Andujar, you bring in Nick Castellanos, and you sign Ty France. But, Jose Miranda over the weekend.
Someone said on the text line the callers are really low. I don't know.
He had two doubles, a home run, drove in 6 runs. And he's a guy that's still very young, Sammy. He 27 years of age, and once upon a time, he was one of the real bright spots in the Minnesota Twins organization. But last couple of years, he's fallen on hard times, really struggled. I think a lot of times when you come up and have a lot of early success, you think that's just going to be something that continues on. But, the league adjusts to you, and then you've got to adjust to the league. And I don't know if that's been the problem. I think there have been some injuries in there as well. But I think he's the guy you can kind of keep an eye on a little bit. And, I think, there are going to be some great battles. I mean, is Moon Song going to make this ball club? I don't know. I mean, you got Ty France, you got Nick Castellanos, who on Friday made a great play over at first base. He had two ground balls. One of them was a great diving stab to his right, got up and threw the pitch recovering first and looked pretty good for a guy that never played first base. So it'll be interesting. And I also think that I don't know about the starting pitching. I think you got a lot of guys there, and that's going to filter itself out. But, you got a couple of things going on now. You heard this morning that Matt Walter had some type of infection, spent a couple days in the hospital, so he's going to get a slow start. He's an interesting guy because he's out of option. Not that he'd be a bullpen guy, but, where does he fall on the pitching staff? And, what the Hawks do with him if he's not ready, just to keep him in the organization. I would imagine down the road you'll see a 60-day IL move because then they can add another guy to the 40-man roster. They can still hang on to Matt. But, Yuki Matsui is supposed to be pitching for Team Japan. He's got a little bit of a groin problem right now. So, you got a lot of good arms down there, Sammy. They're going to put together a fantastic bullpen. I'm just not sure who all the guys are going to be right now, other than the guys who saw the majority of last year, the Estradas, the Morehomes, Mason Miller at the end of the year. David Morgan came on, and, of course, Matsui and Walter Swanee Peralta.
When coaches, as a coach yourself, in kind of talking about baseball players, the WBC is coming up, which is I think exciting for all of us fans. We sit there and go, we're excited to watch it. But as progressing toward the season, does it help hitters to kind of get in that mindset of you're playing competitive baseball before the season starts? You think it hurts, or is it when you're talking about pitchers, is it more concerning because you got some miles on the odometer because they're throwing pitches, or do you think it actually helps them kind of get in game shape?
Sammy, you're talking to a guy that's a coach and was always worried about my pitchers getting hurt. You're always worried about them getting hurt away from the ballpark with positional players. And anytime you go out there, there's a chance fastball in the hand and break your hand, and you're out for 6 weeks or 2 months. So all these organizations they smile. Oh yeah, we're excited about having our guys to WPC. But let me tell you, the general managers especially, they're always worried, and they're very happy when the WBC's over. The big thing is when did these guys start throwing? I think you saw Mason Miller last week. He threw in a ball game, and everybody's yelling and screaming, "Oh man, this guy's throwing 101 miles an hour." Well, that's impressive, but is he in good shape, or is that a force 101 miles an hour? Straining his arm a little bit. So it depends when these guys got started, and you can't with pitchers, you can't really ramp up too fast. It's a slow build. And as far as hitters, you can get in there, take BT, but you want to get some live at bats. And I think as the World Baseball Classic gets underway, all these guys are going to start, finding their groove. And you can take batting practice, get off the tee, play soft top, do all that good stuff. But you need some live at bats against somebody, trying to throw the ball by you or bend the ball on you.
Coach, where do you stand on where a lot has been made this week about where Fernando Tatis will bat? Would you like to see him lead off? Would you like him at the cleanup spot? If you were running the team, where would he be?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I wouldn't have Xander Bogaerts be my leadoff hitter. That'd be. I think I'd hit him down in the order. I know he's a high price guy, but you know what? I think you hit him down around the sixth spot. As far as Fernando, I've always liked him in the leadoff spot. I think in a perfect world, you'd like to hit him, third or fourth in the lineup. But as far as Fernando with the Padres, I'd like to see him still hit leadoff. The only question I have, Sam, he still runs well, and he'll still steal bases. And of course, the new rule where you can only go over small, you got the bigger bases. All that plays into it, but I'm not sure that he's running as well as he once did. We'll see. Maybe this year he'll show some signs of being able to go out there and steal 35 or 40 bases. But even last year he stole bases, but it didn't look like he had the burst when he was stealing last year. Let's see if he's worked on some things. I don't know. Craig Camo's got a lot to navigate right now. I'll tell you the guy that I wouldn't mind to see leads off would be Jackson Merrill. If you wanted to have Jackson lead off against right-hand pitchers and have Fernando lead off against left-handed pitchers, I'd buy into that. But I think Bogaerts, where he's at in his career now, you got to stick him down to about the sixth hole and let him drive the ball to the outfield, drive in some runs. And he's not the table setter he once was, I don't think.
Coach, flipping to the NBA, our Lakers, brutal loss the other night against the Boston Celtics. They're back against Orlando. I mean, where do you see this Laker team? Because personally, Coach, I see them as they're a fun team that has some offensive capabilities, but they just don't have enough. They don't play enough defense and are not good enough in the front court to compete at the highest level. Where do you see them this year, Coach?
Well, I think a couple of things. Number one, I know they played a majority of that game the other night without Jackson Hayes for backup center, who's a high wire act. They like to lob at him, but he's a pretty good defender, good rebounder, shot blocker. Aiden's got to stay healthy. I think once they get into the playoffs, I don't want to say they're going to take it a little bit more serious, but there have been times this year, Sam, in the third and fourth quarter where they've been pretty good locking down on defense, but night to night, it's scary. The Lakers are very frustrating to watch. I'm not a good guy to probably watch the Lakers, but
I'm with you, Coach.
But at the end of the day, they're a very talented team. They got two of the best players in the world, in LeBron and Doncic, and the West has been kind of up and down this year. How good is Denver? We don't know. I mean, OKC's very, very good. They're the defending champ, but there are a lot of teams in the West that you know what? All of them at times this year have kind of shown warts. Maybe not OKC as much as some of the other teams, but they've had a few hiccups this year as well.
I'm totally with you. It is odd. It's frustrating. I think what makes it more frustrating as a Lakers fan is we know that they can play defense. To your point, they actually are one of the best teams in the league in clutch time defense, but they don't do it consistently, which is why I think they're having some problems in the regular season at times. Coach, quickly before we get out of here, I'm curious your thoughts on the Aztecs. So Aztecs obviously tough last week of basketball. It feels like they're maybe out of the at-large bid conversation. I don't know. But if the Aztecs have any shot at making this tournament by winning 3 straight days on the Mountain West, conference tourney, what has to change in your estimation, Coach?
Well, they got to shoot the basketball a lot better, and they got to get back to playing Aztec defense. And this has been an extremely disappointing season. Okay, I know that they've won more than they've lost, but it's been a disappointing year. Everybody was anointing them the league champion, a high seed in the NCAA tournament. And right now, unless they get on a hot streak here, they're going to have to win that Mountain West Conference tournament. But Sam, you know what? They've got 3 great opportunities. Of course, tomorrow night they got Utah State. They stubbed their toe on Saturday night after the Aztecs got beat at Colorado State up in Nevada. So they win tomorrow night. They're back tied, but they've got 3 quad one games coming up. They got the game on Wednesday night. Then they go to New Mexico. Eric Olin, the guy that I called his games the last couple of years over at UC San Diego, is a great coach and doing a great job. That's a quad one game at New Mexico on Saturday morning. Then they go to Boise State. Then they finish up the regular season with a game at home against UNLV, and they go to the Mountain West Conference tournament. But if they were to win all 3 of those games, or say they end up beating UNLV as well, then you know what? I think they're really back in the conversation and getting off the bubble and being one of the last few in. But I think right now they're going to have to win the Mountain West Conference title if they want to be assured of an NCAA bid this year.
I'm totally with you, Coach. It feels like they kind of just lost all their room for air. That's because of a bad 2 week stretch of basketball early on in the year at the Players Era tournament. But they certainly have the talent. But I'm with you. It's been disappointing because they have so much talent at the lack of success so far. Coach, you're the best, man. We'll talk to you next week on Thursday. All right? Yes, sir. Coach Quintera, the legend himself, stops by our show all the time. Love hearing the coach on, man. He's one of my favorites growing up, listening to him on the radio. All right, coming up next, long shots. My favorite. Well, what was that? I forgot. Mike Usher looking out for the San Diego public. We got Aztecs UNLV tickets. We're going to do caller number 7. We want to send you to the game. Again, caller number 7. Call 877-767-4760. Again, 877-767-4760. Coming up next, we got long shots. We went 2 of 3 last night. If I would have listened to Alan Slebo, we would have went 3 for 3. The text line is already calling me out for it. I'm going to read all your texts next. We're going to get to long shots, get you some bets. Coming up next on the Fletchdown on the San Diego Sports 760, live from the iHeart Radio app. STFC is back at Snapdragon Stadium Sunday night when they take on St. Louis City. Pregame coverage with Adrian and Darren begins at 5:30 right here on your home for STFC San Diego Sports 760. We've got Tyler Heaps joining us at 1:30, fresh off his contract extension. So looking forward to talking to him. All right, we got some texts from last night. So last night I called the Kansas upset. I told you KU was going to come through on their home floor against Houston. Bill Self has not lost back-to-back games since the 90s at Allen Fieldhouse. So he has never lost a game on Big Monday. That came through for us. Houston absolutely dismantled the Jazz. Unfortunately, I did not listen to Alan Sliwa. Alan told me the Spurs were going to win. They were going to upset Detroit on the road. That did not happen. So I'm sorry I cost the people some money. 858 faded Sammy and slammed Spurs money line, then put all the loot on Kansas. So I still owe you a thank you. 615 Sammy, I owe you and the San Diego Jayhawks fan an apology for questioning your pick yesterday. I'm never betting on Houston again. Kelvin Sampson, that's a conversation for another day. Houston not winning the biggest games in the Big 12, but certainly a lot going on there. But today I got a fresh 3-leg parlay for everyone. This is Long Shots. All right, we got an all NBA parlay going on today. So college basketball slate, a lot of heavy favorites in this one. We got very special guests joining us in studio here in a few minutes. But we're going to start Lakers Magic. You're going to hit the game on the station tonight. Now, people get mad when I pick the Lakers. They do. They call me a homer, which is fine. I get it. And as you know, I have picked against my Lakers before. I don't personally bet them, but I've had a good hit rate on them. We are going to lay the 5.5 tonight against Orlando. I'll tell you why. The Lakers have problems against upper tier competition. Against Boston, teams that are extremely physical, they got run. Detroit, teams very physical, got run. Oklahoma City, San Antonio, the Knicks. When the Lakers step up and play teams that foul you, mug you, make it hard where you can't get into the half court, the Lakers don't have success. Orlando is not one of those teams. The Orlando Magic is going to be able to the Lakers are going to be able to get after the Orlando Magic tonight. Franz Wagner is not playing. Desmond Bane and Paolo Banchero have had a nice season down there for them in Orlando, but kind of disappointing. Orlando before the season was thought of as a team that could potentially challenge towards the top of the Eastern Conference after adding Desmond Bane, the Wagner twins, along with Banchero, Wendell Carter, but hasn't really been the case. So tonight, I think Lakers lay 5.5. I like getting that number there. We're going to roll with that. All right, Knicks, Cavs. Cavs, we're going to roll 4.5 at home. We're going to lay with 4.5 with the Cavs. The Knicks, I get it. The Knicks, every time they win, Knicks fans are one of the loudest fan bases in all of sports. They had a huge win over the weekend against the Houston Rockets, actually down 18 in that game in the third and fourth quarter, and the Knicks come roaring back at the Garden. This game's going to be a little bit different, though, on the road against Cleveland. Cleveland finally has a running mate. Donovan Mitchell, the problem with the Cavs has been they have all the talent. I mean, they have Evan Mobley. They got Strus. They got Merrill. They got a lot of dudes that can flat out play. They don't have a consistent number 2 scorer to go alongside Donovan Mitchell. And that's been the problem why they got upset by Indiana last year. I know Darius Garland was hurt. They had some injuries in that regard. But I think Donovan Mitchell finally found his running mate in James Harden. Yes, I know James Harden critics. He only averages 13 points per game in Game 7s in the playoffs. But this is not the playoffs. This is a game against the Knicks. They had won, I believe, 7 straight heading into that game against Oklahoma City that they lost on Sunday. I think they win this one and lay the 4.5. The Knicks don't have enough scores to hang with them. I like the Cavs getting the number at home, 4.5. And then we're also going to lay. People are going to go, Sammy, what are you doing? You're betting against the Oklahoma City Thunder? Toronto at home, laying the 1.5. Mike Usher's frowning right now for the amount of gambling that is on San Diego Sports 760 airwaves. But the Toronto Raptors were laying the 1.5 against Oklahoma City. Now, the casual NBA fans go, isn't Oklahoma City the best team in basketball? Except SGA is out tonight. Jalen Williams is out tonight. AJ Mitchell, I believe, is out tonight. Alex Caruso was questionable. People don't pay attention to Toronto, maybe because it's Canada, maybe because they don't. The games start at 4:00 down here on the West Coast. But Brandon Ingram, the former Los Angeles Laker, has really had that team humming. RJ Barrett. Jakob Pertl is out for this game, but the Raptors have a lot of depth. And Scotty Barnes might be one of the most underrated players in the entire NBA. He's an all pro defensive player, also averages about 20 points per game. I like laying the points at home against Toronto, 1.5. All right, so to recap, we got the Lakers laying at 5.5 at home at Crypto against the Magic. I think the offense is going to be a little bit too much for them. I got Toronto laying 1.5 against Oklahoma City at home. Oklahoma City making that trip from Cleveland after their win on Sunday. And then I like Cleveland laying the 4.5 against the Knicks. I don't think the Knicks have enough scores to keep up with them. So we're going all favorites tonight, Chino. But let me introduce our guest who's going to be with us for hour 2. Chino Iglesias. This is the man. You guys know who he is. This is one of the most recognizable voices in San Diego and Los Angeles. But Chino was kind enough to stop by. He's going to be hanging with us for 1 to 2. Chino, what's up, man? How you doing today?
I got to first of all give it up to you, dude, because I am thoroughly impressed by not only your delivery, but your preparedness.
Oh, thank you.
You're usually behind the glass. So we tend to have these conversations about sports. I'm a casual dog. You know what I mean?
I don't agree with that because I go in and talk to you every day in your studio.
Every day.
And Chino, I think, could make an argument, knows as much or more sports than anyone in this building.
I tend to think so. But also at the same time, I give due respect to everybody that is in the studio every single day, right? I can't come in here and prepare a show for you. If anything, I can come in and be a realist. And when I say I'm a casual, I feel like I'm everybody else that's out there that's listening to you guys every single day that is passionate about what they love and believe in. They ride for their team no matter what. They might complain at the bar. You get a few in, and you go, I hate, my GM, and I wish my team would do X, Y, Z. That's kind of where I am, and I feel like if it weren't for sports, I kind of need something else to take my time, right?
Dude, I have a 2-week depression that it cures every time the NFL ends. Every year. I got to work through it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Every Sunday.
I'm going to get some hatred, absolute hatred. But I feel the same exact way when baseball season ends, right?
Oh, totally.
Right. I'm going to be, honest 100% with who I am as a sports fan. I was born in North County, left when I was like 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in Los Angeles. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am a true Blue Dodger fan.
Hey, we respect it. Listen, where you're from where you're from. You grow up where you grow up.
Absolutely.
I got no problems with we got a lot of Dodger fans who listen. But so coming up next, hour 2, we're gonna get into a little baseball. We're getting into Dodgers, Padres. Where does everyone stack in the division? Plus, I know you're a massive Raider fan.
Massive.
And I got some questions about who should they be taking Fernando Mendoza #1 overall? No questions asked. We're getting into that coming up next, live here on the Fletch Zone, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Oh, you're the best, dude.
Fletch is pissed. Dodgers.
All right, the sport is sponsored by Wendy's. We got Lakers basketball back tonight. Lakers favored by 5.5. Hear the game right here on San Diego Sports 760, taking on the Orlando Magic, looking to put that loss in the rearview mirror. We got Aztecs basketball on San Diego Sports 760 tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Huge showdown against Utah State. Aztecs looking to get a little revenge for their last game out. Game is at 8 o'clock. Schaefer will get you on the call. Flesh and I get you going pregame starting at 7. The support has been sponsored by Wendy's. Welcome back to the Fletch Zone, Hour 2. Sammy Long here. We got Ben Fletcher again, 70470. Start your message with team. He said he's been sick the last couple days. I think the real question is, do we believe him? Text line has some other thoughts about why Ben Fletcher has missed the last couple days. Again, we talked to Coach Quintero a little bit ago.
I was listening to that.
Coach doesn't miss days. That's a true professional. He's not out here. He's not out here, just skipping days because he got a little bottle sick over the weekend. But we have a very special guest joining us for Hour 2, Chino Iglesias from Channel 93.3. You all know his voice. You've heard him throughout San Diego for years in LA. Chino, where you want to start? Because you are a massive Raider fan.
Massive Raiders fan. I worked for them for a while. I was the
Okay.
hype man for the Oakland Raiders right before they moved to Las Vegas.
Okay, so I'm curious. So I opened the show talking a little bit about the combine and about it feels like Mendoza's the surefire number 1 pick, but in a light quarterback class, you've seen Ty Simpson, these guys rise up the boards. Do you think, as a Raider fan, your team likely getting Mendoza? Is there any thought to he's being so hyped because there's not a great quarterback behind him, or do you think Mendoza is the future leader of the Las Vegas Raiders?
Okay, I feel like we've been through this for 2 decades at least of bad decisions, bad drafts, bad free agent signings, believing the hype. And I feel like I have this conversation almost every day with my friends. You're in a group chat and you start talking and you're like, oh my gosh, it's coming together. And every year we go through this as Raider fans. And I feel like anybody that's a fan of any sports team, you go through it when you're quote unquote rebuilding or moving on to the next big thing. I'm tired of it. As a Raiders fan, you become exhausted with, but didn't we just do this? And the year before, and the year before that. 2016 was the promising year. 2016 was the year
that team was stacked.
Stacked, dude. But Donald Penn messes a block. I don't want to say he misses a block, but he fell back, and that was the end of that.
When Derek Carr got injured.
Yeah, he broke his leg. Next year, messed up his back and heard footsteps, and things kind of, evolved the wrong way for us. And I feel like every single year it's, who are we going to sign? Who's going to be the coach this year? I feel like this is the first time in a long time I have felt like Kubiak and that tree he comes from shows the most potential that I've ever seen. I don't give me when Chucky came on the first time. Don't give me when Chucky came on the second time. This feels different.
I got to give the Raiders a lot of credit too, because to your point, I mean, everyone knows I'm a Chiefs fan, but the Raiders are a proud organization.
We should hate each other.
We should hate each other. But I respect the rivalry. This is not the Browns. This is not the Panthers, where you're talking teams that perennially pick at the top because they've never been good. They've never had success. The Raiders are one of the most historic franchises, not only in the NFL, but in sports. And I made this point at the top of the show. It's like the Pittsburgh Steelers slap a Band-Aid every year. They're like, we have a great defense, and we're going with a middling quarterback, whether that's Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Kenny Pickett. All these years, and what does it take you to be 9-8, either barely miss the playoffs or make the playoffs, and then you're out in the first round? What the Raiders did, and I'm sure as a Raider fan, like you said, it's frustrating. It's frustrating watching it.
Yep.
But getting Pete Carroll, kind of knowing that Pete and Geno wasn't going to work out, and the chances of you having a really high draft pick is there. And it feels like the tank job the last couple of years, people are overthinking this. I get it. Does Mendoza light it up like a Trevor Lawrence or a Joe Burrow coming out of college? Not necessarily when you jump at the combine. But all this guy did was take a team that was one of the worst teams of all time in college football in Indiana and go win a national championship, come up clutch in that game against Miami. It's like the Raiders need a signal caller that they can point to and say, that's our guy for a decade.
I'm not delusional when I think that his 30 for 30 is going to be crazy when he
Yeah.
retires from the NFL.
Yes, yeah.
Because of the story, because of being at Cal and then going, I might go here. No, wait a second. This might be my home. And he goes in there and he lights it up. And watching his performance throughout this past college season, no, he doesn't have the greatest arm strength. He has situational awareness. He makes decisions on the fly very well. And in that bowl game, that kid was shining. So we haven't had that since had we not gotten a disgruntled Carson Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Carson brings that kind of energy, right? I see Mendoza not as the savior, but as the first piece to where we can build from. And I feel like it's the right direction. If they don't go that way, you got to entertain every single phone call as Spytech.
So that's what. Okay, I'm curious if you get a haul, knowing that next year there's
Super haul. It's got to be a super haul
because that. So I feel like every team has this theory of like you can't trade the number one pick. You can't, because if the guy that's you're supposed to be picked becomes a superstar, you look back and regret. I mean, look at what the Panthers did. They traded up for Bryce Young. It doesn't work out. The Bears look like a genius highway robbery, gets Caleb Williams a year later. But it is funny in a year where Dante Moore, Maava, Sellers, Manning, all these guys are coming out. You better be sure it's that guy. And I hope if I'm the Raiders, I'm giving him leeway, because it feels like rookie quarterbacks now. It's if you're not good immediately, they're already looking at another guy. It's like he needs a couple years of runway to get
100%
the guy.
100%. I don't like the narrative today of people talking about, oh, Kirk Cousins, he could be the bridge miss me with that. What you need to do with this $100 million that you got, go in there and get these guys Lindenbaum, go get these hogs in the middle and protect this kid. And think about those weapons, okay? I'm going to put you in this mindset. You got Mahomes, one of the greatest of all time, if not the, right? Imagine if he had Genty and Bowers.
I'm surprised. I was saying with Ben a couple weeks ago, when the quarterback or the coaching tree was all up in the air, I was surprised that outside of the knock on the Raiders that you play in a division with the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos, who all have good quarterbacks.
Yep.
I'm still a little out on Bo Nix, but he's earned it this year. I give him the benefit of the doubt. But besides that, to your point, Genty, Bowers, you got a great pass rusher, Max Crosby. It's Vegas, brand new stadium. I mean, like there's a lot to like there with Mendoza. I'm surprised. I think they were smart to wait and just go get an offensive mind in Kubiak.
I firmly believe that 1,000%. You have to put the pieces around Mendoza to be able to succeed. But I feel like every single coaching hire is not, like we had to deal with Pete Carroll's sons, right? Where's your resume, bro?
You
know what I mean?
Exactly.
But with Kubiak, I feel like everything is intentional and everything is evolving into something that's going to be good, if not great, right? I'm not one of those guys that puts the cart before the horse. I'm a realist when it comes to sports. It happened over time when your heart gets broken over and over and over. Anybody out there can relate to that. Is like, and your friends go, you should switch. I'm not going to switch teams.
Hell no.
Not at all. I'm going to stick with what I love, right? I grew up on the silver and black. And there's nothing like the fun rivalry between friends, as you grow up and they're Charger fans or a Chiefs fan or a Broncos fan. And the best thing you could do is just go at each other about it, right?
Well, I think like switching, like you mentioned, you're a Dodger fan. You said at the end of the last hour. The Dodger Padre rivalry, and I know a lot of people in San Diego hates Dodger fans hate Padre fans. It is the best thing to ever happen to baseball, because this whole baseball for years was kind of falling into, and you and I both love the NBA, but the NBA, the 80s, the Lakers and Celtics despise each other. The 90s, the Bulls and the Pistons hated each other. And it feels like, I think it's coming back a little bit, but for a while there, everyone was friends. And the fan bases hate each other.
Yep.
And then you see everyone swapping jerseys after the game, and you're like, okay, well, that's like, I'm pissed off. And they're not. What the Dodger Padre rivalry and fan hate has done for the game, I think people like in a 162 game slate where people get kind of it's monotonous and you're just kind of going through it. It's like, oh, I want to tune in for these games because these two teams and fan bases absolutely despise each other.
You know what? Let me clear the air on that as a Dodgers fan that grew up in Los Angeles, born here in Escondido. I don't hate Padres fans. I don't think it's a rivalry per se. I think it's a developing rivalry. We hate the Giants fans.
That is okay. That is funny because Dodgers Giants was always the rivalry.
It really was.
That was.
But I feel like I think Padres fans deserve better. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll hold off on my thoughts about what they need to do because that's not
feel free to say them.
Leadership, bro.
Well, that's a real thing because if you're a Padres fan heading into this season, you sit there and you go, you have the makings of a team that could cause problems for someone in the playoffs. You have stars and Machado and Tatis, a Merrill who's coming up the ranks and could be that is his rookie year looked like he was going to be a superstar. Last year dealt a lot of injuries. Could get back to that. You have an elite bullpen. You have a great top three on the team in terms of starting pitching, but it feels like everyone universally praised AJ Preller for signing the German Marquezes, the Walker Buehlers, all these guys, Nick Castellanos the last couple weeks. And it's great. And I give AJ Preller all the credit in the world for doing that with the budget he's allowed. But to your point about ownership, if they had went out there with a blank check and went, Framber Valdez, come to the team.
Man.
Went out and got somebody, you would be looking at the Padres in a different light versus we need one of these guys to hit that there's a reason why they were all free agents.
Oh, it really is the toughest thing because I don't want it. I don't want to hate them, right? I think it's good for baseball. I think that them being as competitive as they can be is good for the NL West in general.
Oh, I think it's the best division in baseball.
I really do believe that. And so the only time I'm against the Padres is when they're playing my team.
Yeah.
Really. I've always had love for the legacy that some of these greats have left behind. You know what I mean? From Gwynn to Caminiti. I got a chance to shake that dude's hand back in 1998, and his hand, hand disappeared.
Yeah.
But I think there's something very special about having such a great team, a great organization, and probably, if not the best stadium in the league.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
100%.
There's nothing like going to watch a game there. And I feel like maybe sometimes the fans want to make it bigger, the rivalry bigger than it is. I welcome it. Bring it on because I think it's great for I think it's great for San Diego. I think it's something that we can get behind that and watching, people fill up the Snapdragon Stadium for SDFC. I think that's a beautiful thing.
It is to your point about SDFC. I mean, it's amazing what we were talking about it yesterday. That team in this quick amount of time to have that rabid a fan base and to be this good, this fast, to be a Final Four, in the Western Conference Final, and then this year they get off in their first game to a 5-0 win over Montreal. It is cool that San Diego really has kind of shed that national narrative. We know it not in San Diego that it's a sports town, but the national narrative when the Chargers is people would come invade, all the opposing teams would come and invade. It's like, yeah, because people want to go to San Diego over Minnesota on a trip.
Absolutely.
And so it is cool to see how SD has really rallied around the teams.
San Diego deserves winning teams. San Diego deserves great sports franchises and GMs in front offices that actually think about that are not just pocketbook first, but also let's make sure that we take care of the fans.
Well, that's to that point. That's where the sale of the team, people looked at it at first as a bad thing. I'm like, John Seidler is not Peter Seidler. Peter Seidler had a vision for this team by spending and writing checkbooks that probably Cashy didn't have to see this team win. John Seidler is, just because he shares the same last name, has never shared that sentiment, at least publicly.
Think on it, bro.
So it's like, people are like, yes, would it be great for it to be in the Seidler family? But if John Seidler and them aren't going to share the same vision that Peter had, then it's time for it to switch hands. It's time for Friedkin or Lacob or one of these guys to come in and buy the team and hopefully kind of build off what Peter had in mind for the city.
What do you envision in the next 5 years?
Well, we can get into this a little bit more later because we got Hartman coming up. But I am curious with the potential lockout next year.
Yeah.
Salary cap, salary floor. How does that envision? it feels like in a weird way, if the Padres would have got an owner 2 years ago and they could have spent like the Dodgers and the Mets
Yep.
and the Yankees, it's kind of a time that the spending is going to be curtailed automatically. But I think it is still a really big thing for the city for the future because right now they're spending no money, frankly, outside of the contracts that were signed when Peter was still running the thing. So I'm curious to see what happens in the next little bit here. All right, we got Steve Hartman coming up next. Chino's hanging around. Steve usually comes on Fridays. He has a special Tuesday appearance. We're talking some Raiders, some Lakers, and everything Dodgers, Padres. Coming up next on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
Guys,
We are
Schaefer.
we are setting this place on fire.
San Diego Sports 760 congratulates all our $5,000 winners in iHeartRadio's Thank You Teacher, powered by Donor's Choice. There's still time for you to nominate a public school teacher making a difference, and maybe they'll be one of our next winners of $5,000, winners to make over their classroom. Help us say thank you to educators shaping our future. Nominate your favorite teacher now at iHeartRadio.com/teachers. All right, so we got Chino. You and I are massive Laker fans.
Massive Laker fan.
Sunday night was disheartening. Was against Boston.
Especially against Boston.
Well, so Pat Riley. I mean, you're talking about Pat Riley's getting honored. You got the entire Showtime Lakers there, Magic, Kareem, everyone's there. And that performance that the Lakers put out was very frustrating. What was your reaction to Sunday and them going forward?
20-second timeout. When has it ever worked in the Lakers' favor when they honor someone, put a jersey in the rafters, announce a statue, give a check to somebody or donation, that they end up winning?
The midseason tournament.
Dude.
Remember? All miles, the midseason tournament, the Lakers, when they won that the first year, immediately went downhill. LeBron, when he gets the record for points, they lost that game. The Lakers do not do well for some reason when there's like extra pressure coming in on them.
When the spotlight, the Hollywood lights are on, they tend not to do well. When they go, oh, cool, we're going to put a Shaq statue, loss. You know, here's a Kobe, another Kobe statue, loss.
It's frustrating how, and speaking of someone to talk to right now, we're talking about who's more about the Los Angeles Lakers than this man, Steve Hartman. How are you doing? You're on with Sammy, of course, and Chino Iglesias from Channel 93.3. Here we go.
Man. Yeah.
Steve, so how do you feel about them going forward? I mean, Sunday was awful. Like, do you see them even winning a playoff series this year, or is this a one and done team because they can't beat the elite in the West?
Hmm.
You want the next question? Take the name.
I think it's well overdue as a Lakers fan because we've been in this nobody wants to play with LeBron era for quite some time. And now that you see that, he's 1 foot out the door, where do you see him landing? Not that it matters as a Laker fan, but I know there's been a lot of speculation as to him maybe going back home to Cleveland. Mm-hmm.
Basically what was going on during that time at the start of the year, because I had predicted that at the end of last year he had played his last game as the Lakers. The Lakers were desperately trying to trade, and there were only 2 teams in the mix, the Knicks and the Cavaliers. Both teams said, we are not interested.
Mm-hmm.
You're the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's say, okay, now they're not going to take on a $50 million salary, but let's say he calls Cleveland and says, look, I want to end my career with the Cavs. I left you guys twice. you do me a favor? Can you allow me to actually end my career as a Cav, even though I left you twice?
That
No.
Steve, I'm Chino's a massive Raider fan. You're obviously Mr. Raider. I'm flipping to the NFL. When you look at Fernando Mendoza, do you see it? Should Spytech and the Raiders take any calls on the number one pick, or just handing the card for Mendoza?
No, Mendoza's the guy. I mean, it's a very weak year for quarterbacks, guy. I mean, they're talking about Ty Simpson as the number 2 quarterback, please. Mendoza is, well, understand how smart this guy is. Remember, he went to Berkeley after turning down Yale because he was hoping to get into a legitimate football school. He graduated Berkeley in 3 years. He was a grad student at Indiana this year in his 4th year of
Hardest thing in radio is wrapping up a Steve Hartman interview.
all the basic Clint Kubiak. He'll get him from day one. He's going to be a hard worker. This guy is driven. Granted, they don't have a lot of talent around him, but they have some. I still think Genty is an elite running back. You know, he just has to have a balanced passing game. And Brock Bowers, arguably the best tight end talent in the NFL. So he has
Steve, we're up. Mike Usher's giving me the break signal, but real quick, is Tuesday night? People are asking on the text line. This is date night. We got any big plans tonight? Okay.
Play on, player.
The way the waiting is gonna kill you, Steve. Uncle Steve, you're the best, dude. Thank you for coming on late notice. Awesome. We will be talking to the great Steve Hartman once again on Friday. Coming up next, though, we got sporting director Tyler Heaps from SDFC. Just signed a contract extension as of this morning. We're talking to him, getting the lowdown SDFC after their 5-0 win over Montreal over the weekend after their debut. Coming up next in the Fletch Zone, Tyler Heaps, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. So speaking of one of those goal scorers, Brian Zomble came up through the academy. It was awesome seeing him get in there at the end, get a goal towards the end. Like, what does that mean when someone from the Right to Dream Academy really steps up and is a big time player right away? You said Champions League games?
Mentors, etc., along the way that they were able to get him to this point. And I'm fortunate. I'm in the job and in the role that allows I have the ability to give these kids this opportunity. But what I don't see is all the work that goes in front of it. And so it was fully earned for him. Again, Brave and Mikey to put him in the game, and what a way for him to make a statement and introduce himself onto the team.
The MLS, it feels like the last few years is just with some stars coming over, but just risen the profile a lot better as a collection. When you guys are in the Champions Cup, what does that get to do for you guys when you're able to play teams that you don't see every year on your schedule? From other parts of the world.
Yeah, I think commercially and sporting, it's awesome. It's arguably the largest competition, obviously, in this region. It grows the brand, it grows our club. The fact that we get to play a big club like Pumas, and now we get to play Toluca, who are the champions of Mexico. This is awesome for our guys. The experiences to be able to go to Mexico and just play with these teams play. And they have very high level players. They've got guys that are going to be playing in the World Cup, and it's a good test for us. It was a good learning moment for us when we went down to Pumas. That was a really good learning moment for our guys that haven't been to Mexico City, haven't played at that level of altitude before, haven't played in an environment like that, and that will be a huge challenge when we go down to Toluca too.
When you guys with the World Cup, obviously this year, so Champions Cup, and you're playing all these different things, and the World Cup's such a special year in the middle of the year. How does that approach how you guys like take on the season? Are you kind of getting guys ready earlier, knowing that some of these guys are gonna have breaks in the middle of the year in the summer for the World Cup, or does that change anything as you go into this season?
I mean, it does change a little bit, but the schedule is so compact, and we're trying to take the weeks when we get them home. We've got so many triple game weeks where we play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, which means we need as big of a squad as possible.
Absolutely, man. Congratulations on the extension, first of all. Second, the excitement within Snapdragon is something that I've never experienced in any other sport or stadium or arena. Can you compare it to something else within your career where you've been or what you've seen? Because I think it's second to none as far as the excitement that these fans bring for SDFC. Dude, for real.
What has changed the most over the year? Because I remember when, as a new MLS fan, when you guys came to San Diego, I never really watched the sport before then, and have really gotten into it. And it seemed like early on, one of the key concerns was struggle offensively, especially in those first couple weeks of the season. And then with Milan Holoski leaving and Chucky Lozano and all that, and then to start this year, 5-0 over Montreal, it feels like scoring and your strikers have really become a real positive and strength of the team. Has that been just about internal development, or what has really kind of gone into that? Why that's offense is now a big part of STFC?
Yeah, it's the most difficult thing to do in football. Really unfortunate. We were able to beat Pumas 4-1 at home, and then we went down there and we struggled a little more, although we created a lot of big chances. We just didn't take them.
Can I ask him
So I
about
think that's
St.
the
Louis? Them
biggest
playing
thing is
what like
just
what
moving
goes?
ourselves in a different way. One thing that we took out of last year was that we need to be better with set pieces. And we scored 3 set piece goals against Montreal. And so those are little details that now we have time to put on our second year. So we're not doing all the basics and the fundamentals to start preseason. We were really trying to redefine those details where we think we can get better. And if we can add 10, 15 set piece goals a year, we think that obviously we can even increase. I think we were the third highest goal scoring team in the league last year. And so, but everybody always asks me, how are you going to replace the goals? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? And I think the big thing is we need guys to step up. And we also can spread it around and we can do it in different ways. And so I think that will be our superpower this year. We talk about the collective all the time. But the more and more that we can continue to prove that, and teams, we have to keep teams guessing. I think we'll be in a really good spot this year.
As the sporting director, you're obviously heavily involved in the scouting of talent and going out and acquiring talent. What's a guy that you think, as the season goes along, maybe 3-4 months from now, is going to be a household name, at least here in San Diego, that maybe isn't right now?
Yeah, I think you saw it last year. Another thing with the stadium, like whenever they say Luca Bombino's name in the starting lineup, I love it. I love how much this city loves a guy like that and Minor Dua, and I think that was last year. I'm excited for a lot of guys. I think Kieran Sargent showed in his first game, in his first start on the weekend, that he can be a really positive piece for us. I think Pedro Soma, who again started those 2 rounds against Pumas, I think he's ready to take a step forward. David Vasquez came in the game against Pumas and scored a goal. And so the good thing is it's not just one person. How incredible was it to see Duran?
So you call yourself San Diegan. You call San Diego home now, right? Okay. I love it. I love that. Now I need this a two-parter. Where is your go-to taco shop, and what's your go-to taco shop order?
Uh
Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you, I guess, a little bit of guidance as a somebody that was born here, and my physique shows that I love taco shops. You need to try Ortiz's in Point Loma. Go there for the California burrito.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Rockies, right? Rockies.
Yeah,
Rockies
Rocky's legit.
Yeah, Rockies is legit.
Oh.
There you go, man.
Oh, Tyler, you're the best, man. Really appreciate you stopping by the show. Really looking forward to SDFC in their next match, and we'll talk again soon. Congrats on your extension. All right, that's Tyler Heath right there, sporting director. Just signed a new contract extension with SDFC. SDFC obviously off to an unbelievable start to the season and in the Champions Cup. And then with Montreal, they'll be taking on St. Louis City here in a few days. All right, coming up next, we're closing it out. Chino and I taking you to John Schaefer. We're going to get into everything around the world of sports coming up next on the Fletch Zone, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. That was awesome.
year as far as Winter Olympics goes, man, curling is fascinating.
Dude, I was watching that
Curling is fascinating.
left and right. Okay, so the first week I always forget with the Winter Olympics because I think I'm more of a Summer Olympics guy.
Absolutely.
Like basketball, swimming, boxing.
Dude,
Like
I cannot wait for 28.
it's gonna be great in LA. We got soccer down here in San Diego. I believe some surfing's down here in San Diego. It's gonna be great.
Like
Like
something for everyone.
it's exactly. You got surfing. I mean, it's and by the way, the track and field, going to be at the Coliseum. That's going to be phenomenal.
That's gonna be fun. But also like you have the swimming competition is going to be at SoFi. They're going to put in a above ground pool out there. Great venue for that. I think it might be a little hot, but there's that. You got flag football for the first time. That should be fun to watch, depending on who becomes part of the team.
I
We're
would
going to get Rajon Rondo.
I was talking with Schaefer about this and Brent. We need to send. This is a free gold medal. Okay, the odds, the FanDuel odds is going to be minus 15,000. The U.S. wins. You send Lamar Jackson out there. You send Justin Jefferson. Let's see if Uzbekistan or Iran is going to be catching touchdowns over Justin Jefferson and Lamar. They better send NFL stars.
Hold on. Don't underestimate these other countries that idolize these players. And, there's somewhere a kid that 10, 15 years ago was watching Devontae Adams that says, it's finally my turn. My team, whether he's in Spain or Denmark or wherever, he's going to go out there and he's going to play his heart out. There's going to be some stars.
You talk about miracle on ice.
Man.
Some teams. What is the ideal NFL flag football roster? I think you have to go Lamar because of his speed. Because flag football, like a quarterback like Mahomes and Burrow, aren't as valuable because you want to be able to run.
Absolutely. So why not? And you might call me crazy, but why not somebody who is one of the most elusive quarterbacks that just stinks up the place as a traditional quarterback? Kyler Murray.
He would be fantastic.
Fantastic.
He'd resurrect his career on the flag football
and
stage.
Then return to the NFL and just stink up the place again.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
100%. I'm excited. So the winter is fun. The first weekend I was watching it, and it's figure skating. I kind of get into figure skating, but my thing is, I don't understand how it's scored. It looks cool. It's like, oh, they just hit a triple axel, but they're like, oh, they landed the toe wrong, and so they're deducing points.
So I'm at home with my wife. We're watching, and she's like, "Why are you watching this curling nonsense?" And I'm like, "It is the one event that is from the beginning to the end. Every day there was a curling event, every single day,
right?
Because it's this round robin competition or whatever. So it was on the most." And she's like, "I want to watch figure skating," and I'm like, "Okay, fine." Alyssa Liu.
Fantastic.
Oakland absolutely won over so many people. Try getting me on the ice up at UTC. It's not going to happen. They're going to have these ice skating rinks out at the Radies rink and whatever. That's cool for them.
Yeah.
Going to do it. Don't get I have no interest whatsoever. But I fell in love with her story, although a little odd. The journey that she was on because of her dad, and how he pushed her, and definitely like a very Todd Marinovich vibe that I got from that.
Little Tiger Woods in his
very, very, very. But how can you not fall in love with her and her story and all that? To me, we're going to be watching documentaries on this year's Winter Olympics.
It was great. I really got into the speed skating. Of course, the hockey, the men's and women's was fantastic. I mean, that was unbelievable. But like the Summer Olympics, because the winter, it really feels like it's going week 2. Like there's less events that I love in the winter. Like I love speed skating, I love curling, I love hockey, figure skating. I get into a little bit, but like I don't.
Skeleton and bobsled, dude. The Trinidad and Tobago team, when they fell on their
head,
they rotated, fell on their head, and they had to go. There's no stopping. You're sliding on your head for the rest of that.
It gives me anxiety watching the bobsled team. I'm like, people do this. This is like a skill more than a sport. They're just trying out to crash. I'm excited for the U.S. Olympics. Going to be 2028 Summer Olympics. Kate Cunningham, for next time you're on, says he's going to be the face of the Team USA basketball team.
Really?
Quick thoughts on that. We got 1 minute.
That's tough because I'd like to see exactly who's going to be on that squad.
It's like Tatum, Halliburton,
For
Maxey,
now,
Edwards.
anything can happen between
Right.
now and then.
Exactly. Like, I mean, Cooper Flag could be the next thing.
Yeah, man.
All right, we'll run out of time. Chino, you're the best, man.
Dude,
Thank you so
it
much
was
for
fun.
jumping on.
It was fun. Thank you for having me.
Channel 93.3. Go check him out. What hours do you want again?
3 to 7. I'm walking over and getting
Okay.
prepped and
Yeah, the channel fans will start yelling at me if Chino is not there in time. So
they'll live.
Chino's the best. Ben Fletcher, I think we'll be back tomorrow. It'll be Ben and I.
Get better,
from,
Ben.
from 12 to 2. Yes, hope he's feeling better. Tomorrow, make sure to tune in at 12. Fletch Shown on the San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Dude, you're the best, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.